Adam stood beside his mother, hands held outstretched. She began to chant, and flames erupted in her hands. Nodding to her son, Adam attempted to do the same and failed. Nothing happened. Again, she showed him the intricate art of magic. It was tough and slow work, as his parents expected. There was much to learn about magic, and it had permeated their world. If Adam was going to succeed in it, he had to learn it. Welcome to Mythical Phylogeny Adventures. I'm your guide, Jason. Today, I want to look at which spells would have the biggest impact on the fantasy world. I'm not talking about raw destructive spells only here, but spells which alter the basic rules of how a world works. There are a few which would force people to rethink even the most basic issues of the mundane in everyday life. Yes, a few spells really do change everything. Now, let's get this one out of the way. Healing magic. I've said it a dozen times at least, but healing magic can alter everything. The ability to heal wounds inflicted in daily life is incredible. If you spend much time working with ranchers and farmers, construction and carpentry, and other physical jobs, you get hurt often. Usually just something dropped on your foot, or bonked on the head. Then you get the everyday cuts with working with knives. Even with the most common tasks imaginable, you get hurt, don't you? And if healing magic existed, then you'd resolve the injury in a jiffy, now wouldn't you? No need to wait days for the wound to scab up and close. And with worse injuries, those from battle, monster attacks, and war, those injuries are gone as well. I don't think I need to sell this spell anymore. For the next one, I want to ask you a question. Why was your hometown founded where it was? Most of you are probably thinking because of its proximity to a trade port with ocean access, or maybe because of the fertile soil or nearby mineral wealth. But there is one thing which comes before all of those, and that is the accessibility to clean drinking water. You often find this in stories involving crossing deserts, but it's just as important elsewhere. I would wager that your town has a major river nearby, which you get water to drink or irrigate your crops. Yes, it is critical, and this is why I place a spell to conjure water as one of the most critical spells in existence. Think about it. You're crossing a desert. The heat is sweltering, and you are baking under the sun. You can no longer sweat, dehydrated. Your throat is coated in a layer of dust. Desperate for a drink, you lift up your canteen, only for there to be not a drop in it. Your hopes crushed. After a day's travel, you would give every coin you have in exchange for a glass of water. But no, you collapse, unable to proceed further. And if you could conjure water, your chances of making it out of the desert improved dramatically. It wasn't just deserts with this issue, but also sailors. You can't drink constant salt water. It will damage your kidneys and lead to dehydration. Trying to store water for long periods of time isn't easy. You get stagnant water. Bacteria and microbes in the water can flourish and create unhealthy water to drink. Oh, and water is heavy to carry around, and you need more water when exerting yourself. Yes, sailors would need this spell too. For both conditions, it opens up trade routes, which would normally not be more hospitable for much longer times, until proper water storage techniques are developed, or ways to transport it over long distances. Even with just a normal trip, you wouldn't need to carry bottled water with you. That will reduce the weight of your pack. Nor would you need to find a river or stream to set up camp. Oh, there is more. How many stories involve droughts devastating a population have you heard? Farmers working barren fields where they can't even get a weed to sprout forth. What plants they had are dried up husks, ripe, starting a wildfire. And a spell to bring forth water to nourish the crops. Even only a small segment of the field could turn your fate about. A wildfire starts, and you create water to extinguish it before it grows out of control. I talked about this when I did the plague video, and we need to address it again. There is an old rumor that people in the medieval era didn't bathe, but they did. The problem was logistics. To fill a tub, you had to go down to the well or river with a bucket, fill it up, bring it back home, and repeat this until you had a full tub. And if you wanted hot water, you had to add in another step. Or you could just go and wade into the water, naked, out for all to see. That is why they would instead do sponge baths, just washing themselves off with a wet rag. With a spell to conjure water, this becomes a much simpler thing. But we do need to look at how the spell works. And this will vary from setting to setting. Does it just create water from nowhere, or does it pull it from the atmosphere? If it is the latter, then under drought or desert conditions, the spell would still fail, and it will lose its power. But still, this is a critical spell to be sure. You may wonder why I don't place food on the same level. That is because you can go only 3 days without water, but can go 3 weeks without food. Food would still be an incredible thing to conjure, but there is a flaw. Does the energy to conjure food exceed that you would gain from eating it? If not, conjured food loses its strength instantly. Another spell is that of teleportation. Think about it. You're delving into a dungeon, guided only by your torch. You watch your steps. There is no telling what you may find. You step into a large room, and that is when you do it. Stepping on a hidden tile. The door slams shut as the walls begin to slowly crawl towards you, inching closer by the instant. You rush to one to stop it, but find that you can't resist its advancement. They grow closer until you no longer have room to move. Your lungs are squeezed, and then pop! You are teleported to safety. A failed expedition, but you are alive, and you can try it again. Taking a deep breath, you teleport back to the dungeon opening, and begin again. This time, smarter than you were 5 minutes before. What about with trade? There was no need to load your cargo onto slow boats or horseback. Nope, just a quick spell and everything is sent 1,000 miles away in an instant. This would save time. Food can be sent straight from the farm to a market. You could get fish straight from the fishing boat, right into the kitchen. Even on the most landlocked locations imaginable. That is the potential of teleportation magic. Now, if you have ever ordered anything online or through the mail, you got slammed with shipping costs and time waiting for it to arrive. The second one would be reduced to nothing. You also wouldn't need to worry about thieves and bandits stealing it. The issue with shipping costs could be a problem. It would depend on what the cost would be to perform a teleportation spell. If it would cost more to teleport it than it would to pay a caravan with guards to bring it, then you may still have the long shipping occur. Yet what about in disasters, say the eruption of Mount Vesuvius? The ground rumbles and black smoke spews from the mountain before fire and molten rock follow. They come raining down on the city, destroying houses. What do people do when a wall of ash and poison gas come rushing towards you? You teleport away to safety. Thousands do. The city would be destroyed, but the people would live. The issue arises if teleportation creates portals, which Thanes can follow you through. So a gate spell versus teleportation really. As an adventurer, you could weaponize it, bypass enemy fortifications in an instant. Walls mean nothing before you. As a thief, you can get right past security before anyone knows you are there, and getting out is just as easy. Mind you, this would bring about anti-teleportation magic. Now, there's a fun trick used with the gate version of teleportation spells in the anime Goblin Slayer. Our adventurer linked a gate scroll to the bottom of the ocean. When opened, it let forth a torrent of water that cuts his foes to pieces. Just send a bomb through at the last second, then close the gate before the blast. Yes, there are many ways to weaponize teleportation spells, and from there the proper countermeasures would surely follow. For an adventurer, you can jump anywhere you need in an instant. Traveling to a town, get there quick. The only issue is if you need to have been there before, or other limitations on teleportation. Now, I want you to look outside. What do you see? Trees, grass, clouds? Any birds? What do the birds see? I'm sure many of you have pets, and they are acting up. You talk to them, but nothing comes of it. They don't get it. Your dog barks at the door, and you don't know why. Does it need to go outside? Is someone there? A squirrel? Well, with a Speak with Animal spell, you can find out. Farmers could really use it. They got to deal with horses, sheep, chickens, and whatnot. They can tell them to go somewhere. It makes herding so much easier. More like leading children than meandering beasts. I can't attest to the quality of the dialogue, but most animals are suspected to have an intelligence on par with a 3 to 4-year-old. If one gets lost, that will make it much easier to find them. And birds are important here. They fly and can cover a great distance. They can serve as spies and scouts, and folk won't be watching them. You can survey armies and forests. With their sharp eyes, they'll see things that you would miss. It would make it easier to send complicated messages, take certain routes to avoid dangers. It isn't just birds. Look smaller. Rats and insects can get to even more places. Try indoor quarters, and the rats might be able to steal a few important things. Information is key, wouldn't you agree? In battle, you could convince an ally with wild beasts, lions and tigers, and send them into battle alongside your troops. There are plenty of examples of armies letting loose tigers, lions, and bears on the battlefield, but they are just as often prone to turn on their own soldiers. That is less likely to happen here. Talk with them before and make a battle plan. No longer would you have some wild animals running amok and sowing chaos, but something fighting with your ranks. A tiger lunging from behind your shield wall and slinking back to safety, prolonging its benefit on the battlefield. But it works both ways. All armies would deploy such spies, and that will lead to purging of any unknown animal in your domain. It runs the risk of full-blown paranoia. People would jump at shadows and every animal they see, be it a deer or a bird. That could turn bad very quickly. On the same note, Speak with the Dead is insane. You could solve a murder so easy by asking the dead witness. It would really limit the scope of investigations. Find a corpse out in your travels, and they can tell you what killed them, be it a dangerous monster or a trap. Mysteries are gone. Of course, the spell would have to have limits. How long after death would it still work? Hours, days, years? The last being very unlikely. Yes, those spells can be incredibly impactful in a fantasy setting. Wouldn't you agree? What spells would you think would be the most impactful? Adam recited the spell again and again. His mother's tutelage continued for weeks. In time, he developed the skills that he would need. The basics of magic fell into his command. Simple spells at first, but they were growing, and he enjoyed it. The spells and power that came with them. Command of the world was his. Adam smiled at his mother, more confident and capable than before. There are several spells which would have major impacts on the world. These 4 are amongst them. What do you think, adventurer? Do you agree with my assessments? What spells do you think would impact the world? Thank you for watching. Please return next time for Shava Malay. Until then, I'll see you on the roads.